my name is Jeremy, and I teach English on Italki, and I have been for a few years now. So I think that I have a little bit of experience with language learning and language teaching in general. So I'm excited to have a conversation about it.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy, for joining today's conversation. And I'm the host, Qin Xi. So let's do the topic today is about teaching. And both of us are teachers on Italki platform. So
Mm.
my first question is about what do you enjoy most about teaching?
What I enjoy most is something that we've discussed before, which is like being able to see people gain more confidence in the language, especially because there are so many instances where people have never had a place to actually practice and use the language in conversation. Many people have only studied in books, in a classroom setting, and they don't really feel a human connection to the language. But I think that when you speak with people and they start to make progress, they start to feel comfortable, they gain, like confidence, and they also feel a lot of joy in being able to finally express themselves in a foreign language. So I think being able to see that is very exciting. And I know that you've expressed something similar as well.
Yeah, I think being able to see our students to grow and to slowly make progress that brings me a
Mm.
fulfillment. And
Yeah.
even though the paycheck is not much, but I still enjoy the teaching process.
Right, right.
I think besides the fulfillment, I think it's also about building a long-term relationship with our
Mm.
students, like to eventually develop a solid friendship. Maybe we can even in the
Mm.
future send each other some parcels to ship something
Mm.
to each other's places, give some other small
Mm.
gifts. So it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You make all of these new connections all over the world, and you learn things that you never would have learned otherwise, right? Like, I don't get the opportunity to speak with people from China every day. I don't get the opportunity to see people from Brazil every day
Yeah.
in my city, in real life, well, real life in person, right? So being able to have this opportunity to speak with so many people online is really cool.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. And let's move on to next question. What do you keep? How do you keep students engaged during class?
Mm, I think that that depends a lot on like who the person is and where their level is at. Because if you have somebody who's at like an intermediate level or higher, I think that most people can be engaged just by like having interesting conversations. Obviously, I don't want to just talk about the weather over and over again.
Yeah.
So, I talk with people about politics or about science, about technology. We have lots of conversations about our opinions on AI, our opinions on climate change, or just like anything that is more like intellectually stimulating, or even about like their personal lives. So I think that for those students, that is perfectly engaging. For students who are at a lower level or beginner level, I think it's harder to find engaging conversations. So I typically try to introduce some type of material, like maybe reading some articles, watching some videos, something that we can like base the conversation off of, and it's like a jumping point, a jumping off point in order to find something like interesting.
I see. You mentioned about talking about different topics, deep topics,
Mm.
and using materials.
Mm.
For me, I think actually for high level learners, I think it's better
Mm.
to just throw a lot of words to them, a lot of different new
Mm.
literary words to them, and
Mm.
they can inspire their passion because they realize
Mm.
that, oh, there is a way that I don't know to express the same meaning. And
Mm.
um, I, I have some students I just uh, keep spitting out a lot of different high
Mm.
advanced words. That's a way to keep them engaged specifically. And for lower
Mm.
level students, I think one specific method is to try repeat and
Mm,
they are very mindful or careful in
mm,
terms of to maintain a good pronunciation. So I think it's very
mm,
necessary to repeat what they just said, and they can repeat it
mm.
after me again. So it's a good way.
Yeah.
And also for beginners, I can use translation materials.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, they are very most of them are very good at English already, so translating from
Mm-hmm.
English to Chinese is a very fun practice.
Oh yeah. That's good. I try
Yeah,
to like find a good balance, because some people you don't want to scare them away with too much advanced vocabulary. But I think that if somebody's at an advanced level, like you're saying, it can be useful to like adjust your speech according to their level, and make sure that they still feel challenged.
yeah, that's correct. And let's move on to next question. What do you do when students have different learning levels?
I mean, yeah, back to what we were saying, like, I definitely try to be mindful of that and make, adjustments to my speech, to my speed of speech for sure. Like, there are some students where I will have to talk like this for every single sentence. And that's okay, because some people are at that level and that's the only way that they can, have a conversation. So if we need to, like, slow it way, way down, we can do that. Obviously for some people I notice like, oh hey, they're at a pretty good level, their listening skills are good, I'm not going to slow myself down.
Yeah,
It might feel a little bit overwhelming, I think, to some people at first, even to people who are at a pretty decent level, but I think that you actually get used to it more quickly than you realize, and you're going to have to speak with people, native speakers who are going to use very quick, connected speech all the time. So it's important to like at least expose people to that when they're ready for it. You don't want to scare anyone off, as I said before. But for the most part, just trying to like gauge where somebody is at and plan accordingly. After maybe one or two, three meetings, you get a better idea of where that like adjustment point is.
I see. Talking speed, the speed up speech is, I think it's the crucial part to
Mm,
maintain the students' interest. Like
mm,
I met some beginner students. They always ask me to slow down, please speak slowly.
mm.
I think for advanced, I want to illustrate it from an advanced learner's point of view.
Mm,
So I think um, when uh, students have a higher level, I think it's just better to have more colloquial and more down to earth, or
yeah.
like some natural collocations like
Hmm.
we have in
Yeah.
English, and in Chinese like we say
Mm,
like we have 把字句 is
mm,
like the a ground point. So for
mm,
advanced learners, I try to insert more of those authentic and idiomatic
mm,
expressions into the speech, and make them
yeah.
more fluent and more
Yeah.
close to native speakers. And
Mm,
I think for the beginners, I think like you said, just to slow down and
mm,
to also to repeat. So it's more
yes.
important. And
Yes.
the next question is, what teaching methods do you find most effective?
Mm, I try to really focus on like daily life, like things, conversations, things that you will actually encounter in real life, So I don't want to spend too much time on grammar. I think that grammar can be useful at different points, and building a foundation in grammar is very important for language learning. But most people I find already have a foundation in grammar or enough of a foundation from going to school. And I think that like continuing the classroom methods of just like learning lots of grammar, doing exercises, and then tests based off of that
Yeah.
grammar, it doesn't really reflect how we learn languages in real life, how we use them either. So I think that I try to incorporate a little grammar when it's needed and explain things if people ask questions. But for the most part, my method is focused on conversation and like consuming some type of content and then having conversation about that content, because I think that that's what we're doing constantly in our day-to-day life, right? We see
Yeah.
something on the news and we have a conversation about it, or we experience something in our lives and we need to tell somebody about it. So I just try to like give people an opportunity to do that, but on, in an online class.
I agree with you totally. If the students would take a class like the italki or online class, I think they
Mm-hmm.
would seek for untraditional learning methods.
Oh, for
They are
sure.
not going to study like sitting in a classroom with a bunch of people and listen to the
Yeah.
tedious long lectures. I agree with you that we should mainly focusing on conversational and also natural conversations or speech,
Mm-hmm.
and to
Mm-hmm.
try to jump outside of the traditional learning box, and then
Yeah.
I think we can integrate some words, like some literary words, into the conversation, but not
Mm-hmm.
too much. And
Mm-hmm.
while we have the conversation, we just type down the words below and send it
Mm-hmm.
to the students. And they can
Yeah.
also have the message um, message log on italki, so they can
Yes.
review them later on and to make their own flashcards based on the words we give them. Uh,
Yes. Yeah.
Also, I think translation practice is also a great method. Like I
Mm-hmm.
especially like to give beginners translation practice because they
Mm-hmm.
find it's challenging and it's also fun, and I can use some kind of format to try, for example, I am Chinese, and I just
Mm-hmm.
provide a list of nationality words like American and
Ah.
Japanese, and I swap the location in the sentence with another words.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good practice for them to make new
Okay.
sentences. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a clever idea. I haven't tried that, but maybe I should sometime, because I can see how if you do that with many different sentences, but the same theme, like nationalities, I think students might try to they might start to pick up on the pattern, right? Like they're
Yeah.
not actually just talking about grammar rules, but they can see the pattern of like, oh, okay, this is how you say this type of sentence, and I can
Yes.
just swap out the words that I need in the situation.
Correct. Correct. And
Mm-hmm.
let's move on. What are the most common mistakes your students make in terms of learning English?
Well, English tenses, I think everybody knows, can be quite difficult, especially using like perfect tenses, continuous tenses, even just the past tense, right? It doesn't exist in every language in the same way as it does in English. So, for Chinese speakers, for example, even talking about situations that happened in the past and using the typical ed past tense ending or irregular past tense verbs in some cases can be very tricky. So I have to remind a lot of people, like how to use tenses in different situations, or why we use the perfect tense. Why does it even exist?
Uh,
Why we should use the continuous tense, and there are many cases where these things are relatively flexible, but there's still a natural sounding way, even maybe several natural sounding ways to say something. But there are also some ways that are less native like, or less natural. So tense is a big one. Using phrasal verbs is very big. A lot of people struggle to use the correct phrasal verb in a certain sentence, or even using prepositions by themselves. Like you'll find a lot of Russian speakers, for example, might say, when I'm speaking on Russian instead of when I'm speaking in Russian. So just using prepositions, it seems very random, I think, to a lot of people. Are like, what's the pattern here?
yeah.
And sometimes I try to like guide them and identify a pattern, but there isn't always a clear pattern with prepositions. So things like that, I think, are just very hard, and you have to have a lot of repetition before it starts to like sink in and you form an instinct about that.
From your speech, I think it depends on different students. From
Oh, for
different
sure.
backgrounds, they have different
Yeah.
mistakes. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the language, your native language, of course, is going to affect what types of mistakes you make a lot. For some people, using English pronouns is not difficult at all, but for some people, they might mix up he and she because it doesn't exist in their native language. So, yeah, I think
Understood.
it
Okay.
depends.
And from my perspective, in a Chinese teacher point of view, I think um, in Chinese we often emit the verb, not the verb,
Mm.
the B word in English like
Oh,
is
the verb to
are,
be.
yeah, is are
Yeah.
am, like this. So in Chinese
Yeah.
we often emit, uh,
Mm.
not emit, or omit,
Moment.
yeah, omit, and like if I say the weather is good, we don't say 天气是很好 like this. We say
Mm.
天气很好. So I find
Right.
many basic Chinese learners they often add the extra 是 inside of the sentence,
Mm.
and that makes the speech odd, very odd. Uh, Another thing is that basic learners they often have a clear and full understanding when it comes to single word or single character. But when they
Mm.
want to make a sentence and connect them together, they often have
Mm.
a mushy pronunciation. Like they're,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's tricky for them to pay attention to the sentence structure and also at the same time to pronounce every single word clearly with the correct tones.
Mm.
So I think,
It's rough.
yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Let's
What
move.
about,
Yeah.
sorry, I was going to ask as well, do you notice that people, because one thing I struggle with is that you can ask questions in two different ways. You can say things like, 可不可以, or you can add ma to the end of words. And sometimes I do both. Even though I know you can't put both in the same sentence, I just accidentally add ma to the end of the sentence, even though I've said 能不能 or 可不可以 or something like this, right?
It actually is simple if you use the
Mm.
pattern what 不 what like 可不可以
Yeah.
and 能不能 you don't need to add ma at at the end of the
Oh,
sentence.
I
Yeah.
know. It's very simple, but it doesn't matter because
Okay,
I
that's not
forgot
bad.
at the beginning of the sentence that I said it, so I just add automatically, right? And as soon as
Okay.
I say it, I think, oh, that's not right, but I still like have already said it. So that's not, I don't know if you hear people saying that a lot, but it's something I say a lot.
Yeah, I noticed some learners they also have this problem, but not very often. Not very often.
Okay, just me.
Jeremy, you should study harder. Okay.
Oh, I will.
Next question. Next is how do you use AI in your teaching?
I would say like I don't really use AI when I'm like speaking with somebody or teaching to somebody, but I think like after the lesson you mentioned that people have the chat log, so I think a lot of people use AI as like a way to summarize the chat log or like automatically make a list of vocabulary and things like that. So it's not something that like I'm actively or directly participating in, but I think that they can use that afterwards. Or I do it myself as a learner. Use like AI to summarize the lesson messages or something like that. But yeah, I mean, generally, I wouldn't say that I use AI a lot in my life in general, or like for teaching. I think that if I need to come up with topics or things like that, there's lots of websites that have topic ideas, but also like I can pretty easily come up with my own ideas.
I see.
Occasionally, for like, if I, like I said, I don't do a lot of grammar stuff, but occasionally, if I do, I might use AI to like make some fill in the blank exercises or something, but I also have to edit that stuff myself. So, yeah, I would say, though, there, here and there, I use it, but not too much.
Mm-hmm. As for me, I think I use it more often than you do. So
Mm,
I use AI to generate the corresponding pinyin for the
mm,
Chinese sentences, and I also use it to generate some translation example sentences in English. And I
mm,
ask my students later. I put them into a document and ask them later to translate it back
Mm,
to Chinese. And
mm,
also, when I have some not very sure, not very sure grasp of the meaning of some words. I know I'm a
mm,
Chinese, but sometimes I still
mm,
mix up some of the very obscure, non common words. So
mm,
I
mm,
ask ChatGPT to give me a better understanding of it.
mm,
I think I use AI a lot, and also
mm.
italki has a AI homework feature. So yeah,
Yeah, if you pay for the premium.
no, you no. I think I
I
always
don't think you
no.
can
Always
use it
assign.
as
No, I always
uh,
assign my homework from AI from the italki AI.
I think a teacher can assign to a student, but only if the student has premium. Like they can
Oh,
only do the homework if they have premium. But if
oh, okay.
you don't have premium, you can't do homework. You
I
can't
see.
generate your own homework from AI.
I see. I see.
Mm.
Let's move on. The next question is, what is one lesson you have learned from your students? One lesson you learned.
Uh, I think the biggest thing is just like you don't have to know everything, and when you don't know something, just say you don't know, and make an agreement to find more information or something like that. Like I think I can be quite stressed sometimes about like, oh, like I'm not an expert on every single thing in the English language. I don't know the meaning of all the words. I don't know every grammar structure or the reasons why we use this or that. So I think just being like, well, that's an interesting question. I don't
Okay.
know the answer. Just admitting these things is good, and it shows that you're
Yeah.
being honest and you're
Yeah.
not trying to like, yeah, mislead people. So I think that's a good lesson. Just that to not worry too much about mistakes because like I see that a lot of people make mistakes in English, and it helps me to understand the mistakes that I make in other languages, and that all of it is part of the learning process. And none of us need to be like embarrassed or something by our mistakes because
Yeah.
it's really like an essential part of the journey.
Yeah. Even though we are native speakers in both our languages,
Mm,
but there are still some areas that we haven't reached yet. So
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
As for me, I think the biggest lesson I have learned is to make the first lesson ever as interesting as possible so I can have them come back.
Mm,
So I think the
yeah.
first lesson is so important that I have to prepare some materials beforehand and also
Mm,
to get to know this person about the
mm,
levels. And
yeah.
so leaving the first impression is super crucial. And
Oh yeah.
don't have enough time. So one last question is,
Mm.
what is the funniest thing that has ever happened in your class?
The funniest thing. Well, just right off the bat, I think that there are some interesting words that you can accidentally mix up in English that can create, some funny outcomes. I will say a lot of people, especially like Thai students or Japanese students, might struggle with the R and the L sounds. And I have heard a lot of people, maybe we're trying to talk about politics, and instead of elections, they accidentally talk about erections or things like this. So that leaves quite an
Okay.
impression in my memory. But I understand it. It's an understandable mistake, but it does sound a bit funny.
Okay. That's 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 a little beyond my imagination. Oh
There's a
yeah.
lot of words like this that you don't realize, like, oh, okay, yeah, those words actually are very close in pronunciation, but they're not close in meaning. And
Okay.
it's okay to mix them up on Italki because we're not in a professional setting, but hopefully in a job interview or something, you don't have that same experience.
Yeah, I hope they don't, or otherwise
Yeah.
make them embarrassed. But
Yeah.
I think let's wrap it up for this meeting.
Mm.
Thank you, Jeremy, very much, and this is a very good teacher on italki. So if you are interested,
Oh,
come and see.
thank you. Thank you for the promotion.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, thank you for this conversation. And yeah, it's
yeah, no
good to
problem.
talk to you some more. We'll wrap it up now.
Yeah, so I'll see you maybe next week and have a good day. Bye, Jamie.
Okay. Have a good day. Bye bye.
Bye.